Good morning, children. Let's begin with the explanation of the third part of Tempest. Students, now you must have got to know that after the Tempest, Antonio, that is Prospero's brother, King of Naples, his son Ferdinand, and others were safely brought to the island by Ariel. Now let's begin the reading. Ariel said, Prospero, thy charge is faithfully performed, but there is more work yet. Is there more work? Said Ariel. Let me remind you, master, you have promised me my liberty. I pray remember I have done you worthy service, told you no lies, made no mistakes, served you without grudge or grumbling. How now, said Prospero, you do not recollect what a torment I freed you from? Have you forgotten the wicked witch Sycorax, who with age and envy was almost bent double? Where was she born? Speak, tell me. Sir, in Algiers, said Ariel. Oh, was she so? Said Prospero. I must recount what you have been, which I find you do not remember. This bad witch Sycorax, for her witchcrafts too terrible to enter human hearing, was banished from Algiers and here left by the sailors, and because you were a spirit too delicate to execute her wicked commands, she shut you up in a tree where I found you howling. This torment, remember, I did freed you from. Now, children, let's see the explanation. Ariel had brought everybody safe to the islands. And Prospero was happy that his intention of bringing his brother and King of Naples, Ferdinand, was fulfilled. But he reminds Ariel that there was more work to be done. Ariel was under the impression that he would be released after that job. He wanted freedom. He tells Prospero that he had performed all his jobs with full dedication and without any grumbling or having any biased opinion. He reminds Prospero of his promise to release him of his duties. Prospero bursts into fury and threatens to return him to the former imprisonment and torment. He further tells him how he had freed him from Sycorax, as he was in a very pitiable condition. Let's proceed with the reading. Pardon me, dear master, said Ariel, ashamed to seem ungrateful. I will obey your commands. Do so, said Prospero, and I will set you free. He then gave orders what further would have had to do, and away went Ariel, first to where he had left Ferdinand, and found him still sitting on the grass in the same melancholy posture. Oh, my young gentleman, said Ariel when he saw him, I will soon move you. You must be brought. I find for the Lady Miranda to have a sight of your pretty person. Come, sir, follow me. He then began singing. This strange news of his lost father soon roused the prince from the stupid fit into which he had fallen. He followed in amazement the sound of Ariel's voice, till it led to him to Prospero and Miranda, who were sitting under the shade of the large tree. Now Miranda had never seen a man before except her father. So here's, children, you see that Prospero makes Ariel understand and consoles him that after more job he would get his freedom. And Ariel also feels very sad at what he had told Prospero. And then he is ready to work for Prospero further. He again further gave him orders, that means Prospero further gave him orders to perform certain duties. Ariel immediately went to the place where he had left Ferdinand and found him sitting in a melancholy posture. That is, a very sad and a gloomy posture. It was because he thought that his father must have been drowned and he too also was lost on the island. Ariel asked him to accompany him by singing song related to his father. When Ferdinand heard something related to his father, he came out of his stupid fit, that is, the sudden uncontrollable attack. He became quite hopeful of meeting his father, but Ariel led him to where Prospero and Miranda were sitting under a tree. Miranda had actually never seen a human figure apart from her father. Miranda, said Prospero, tell me, what are you looking at yonder? "Oh, father," said Miranda in a strange surprise, "surely that is a spirit. Lord, how it looks about. Believe me, sir, it's beautiful creature, is it not a spirit?" "No, girl," answered her father. "It eats and sleeps and has senses such as we have. This young man you can see was in the ship. He is somewhat altered by grief, or you might call him a handsome person. He has lost his companions and is wandering about to find them." Miranda, who thought all men had great faces and grey beards like her father, was delighted with the appearance of this beautiful young prince. And Ferdinand, seeing such a lovely lady in the desert place, and from the strange sound he had heard, expecting nothing but wonders, thought he was upon an enchanted island, and that Miranda was the goddess of the place, and as such he began to address her. So you see, children, when Miranda saw Ferdinand, she was quite amazed. And when Prospero asked her where she was looking at, here yonder means somewhere far away, somewhere distant. She told him that Ferdinand looked like a spirit which was very beautiful. But Prospero told her that the person was a human being and he had all the senses like the human beings have. Prospero gave details about Ferdinand having been abandoned, and that means lost, on the island after the shipwreck, and was in search of his companions. Miranda had the impression that all men had very grave, that is, stern faces with grey beards like her father, and she was happy to see Ferdinand, and Ferdinand too thought that he had come to the magical island, and the lovely girl was the goddess of that place. And he started talking to her. So children, we end here. Next, we will proceed in the next video. Let's continue, children. She timidly answered she was no goddess but a simple maid, and was going to give an account of herself when Prospero interrupted her. He was well pleased to find they admired each other, for he plainly perceived they had fallen in love at first sight. But to try Ferdinand's constancy, he resolved to throw some difficulties in their way. Therefore, advancing forward, he addressed the prince with a stern air, telling him he came to the island as a spy, to take it from him who was the lord of it. "Follow me," said he. "I will tie your neck and feet together. You shall drink sea water, shellfish, withered roots, and husk of acorns shall be your food." "No," said Ferdinand, "I will resist such entertainment till I see a more powerful enemy," and drew his sword. But Prospero, waving his magic wand, fixed him to the spot where he stood, and so he had no power to move. So children, we see that Miranda said that she was not any goddess but an ordinary girl. Prospero actually wanted both of them to come closer. They wanted them to fall in love. And he wanted to test Ferdinand's constancy. That means his faithfulness and stability. So he thought of bringing some hardships in their way, and so he called Ferdinand and told him in a stern air, that means in a very strict and severe way, that that means Prospero, supposed that he had come to the island as a spy, and so he would tie his neck and feet together and give him sea water to drink, along with shellfish, withered roots, that means the rotten roots, and husk of acorns, that means the just the covering of the corns. Ferdinand resisted, and he was a little bit upset and protested, or you can say refused. But Prospero, with his magic wand, fixed him to a place where he stood, and thus Ferdinand had no power to move. Now let's continue the reading. Miranda hung upon her father, saying, "Why are you so ungentle? Have pity, sir. I will be his surety. This is the second man I ever saw, and to me he seems a true one." "Silence," said her father. "One word more will make me chide you, girl." "What? An advocate for an impostor? You think there are no more such fine men, having seen only him and Caliban? I tell you, foolish girl, most men as far excel this as he does Caliban." This he said to prove his daughter's constancy. And she replied, "My affections are most humble. I have no wish to see a goodlier man. "Come on, young man," said Prospero to the prince. "You have no power to disobey me." "I have not, indeed," answered Ferdinand, and not knowing that it was by magic he was deprived of all the powers of resistance, he was astonished to find himself so strangely compelled to follow Prospero. Looking back on Miranda as long as he could see her, he said, as he went after Prospero into the cave, "My spirits are all bound up, as if I were in a dream. But this man's threat and the weakness which I feel would seem light to me, if from my prison I might once a day behold this fair maid." So you see, children, Miranda felt that her father was treating Ferdinand mercilessly. She told him that she would take the responsibility that he was a very good person. She felt the second person in her life was really a very true one. And she wanted Prospero also to believe that. But Prospero told her to be quiet, or otherwise he would be angry with her. "He will make me chide you." That means he would scold her, or he would get angry with her. He didn't want her to be his advocate and speak on his behalf. Prospero told her that she would get many better men than Ferdinand. Actually, here you see that Prospero acted all these to prove his daughter's faithfulness towards Ferdinand. But Miranda, on the contrary, says that she has no wish to see any other man in her life. Ferdinand further tells Prospero that he had not disobeyed him. He was quite astonished as to how he was following Prospero. Prospero took him to the cave. Ferdinand felt that he was weak at that time, but felt that if he could have a glimpse, that means if he could lay his eyes on Miranda from the cave, all his weakness would lessen. With this, we come to the end of the literature learning of Tempest, Part 3. Have a good day.